my goal was to help at least one person. This person went from making $0 to $100,000. Like, if there's one person that did that, I'm happy.
You succeeded.
There's an O'Reilly booth there. A lot of us get together and talk there, but they were saying that in these books, apart from the ones that are specifically teaching about the syntax and programming, actually a lot of them don't have a lot of code. A term called hallway track. Have you heard of that?
What's that? So how many years have you spent, traveling and attending conferences?
Maybe like 5 years.
5 years.
Another interesting one is actually for promotions. Within tech companies or even non-tech companies, there's often this kind of promotion criteria or the career ladder, career matrix, whatever they call it. And I noticed this the time when I was first getting promoted.
Do you think they also know that, or they don't know it, but by the time they realize that their career could be set back by 2 to 3 years? Hello, Susan. Thank you so much for sitting down with us today and chatting with us. It's a pleasure to have you. So based on my understanding, and I also think in the eyes of the public, you are a data scientist, an O'Reilly book author, a game developer, and also a public speaker.
Right.
Is that an exhaustive list of who you are, what you do, or is there something else you want to add to the list that describes you?
I think that's a pretty accurate description. And I think, depending on what's there, just whatever hobbies that I find interesting, like game development was something that I didn't go to school for, and then I found it interesting, so then I just did it. So who knows, maybe there's some new things in the future that I'll do that we can add for that. But right now, I think that's pretty accurate.
How did you get into game developing? Is it from you really liked gaming, and one day you think, I'm gonna make my own game?
Right,
Is that how it happened?
Yeah, so that started when I was in university. So then my background is in economics. My education, I did undergrad and also master's degree in economics. But then I had a hobby, which is learning programming to develop games because I was interested in playing games. So then I also wanted to learn and make them too. So then that's what eventually led me to data science, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's how it began.
How did you go from gaming to data science?
Yeah, so I was programming, right? So then economics, if you choose to, you can do more stats. So it's called econometrics. So basically it's like applied statistics for economics. So I was very focused on those courses. So then because I had that skill and also now programming skills, I had a friend also who did the same master's program I did, and then now he's also a principal data scientist at a pretty large tech company. So at the time, he was maybe newer in his career, but he already saw that data science needs these skills. So then he recommended me, data science is growing. It's a growing field. It's something that you could look into, and then I never heard of it before, and then I Googled it, and I thought, wow, this fits my skills perfectly. Yeah, kind of through self-learning.
Nice. Okay, let's start with your role at Elastic. I guess that's your main role as a data scientist.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you currently do? And this is just so that we give the audience a sense of what are the cool things you do as a data scientist as your main role.
Yeah, for sure. So there's a few things. So right now I'm at principal level at Elastic, which is a pretty large company. We make SaaS products, or we make also the open source data store, Elasticsearch, which a lot of companies, Fortune 500, big tech companies, they use Elasticsearch. And I think most people in tech might have heard of it in some form or another, or used it actually. So here we make quite a lot of things. Like recently we have a tool that helps people use Elasticsearch to detect and find cybersecurity attacks. So that's just one of the things we do with large language models and also RAG. So Elastic is also a vector database. So for people who are working in GenAI, you might have heard of RAG, or retrieval augmented generation. And a lot of big companies use Elasticsearch as part of their RAG pipeline.
I see.
I work on leading projects like that. And there's some blog posts I've written on the Elastic website too that maybe go into more about how we're evaluating large language models, evaluating and creating AI agents, which are also pretty hot right now in Gen AI. So things like that, yeah.
Oh, last time I asked you, I didn't know you're also working on agents.
Oh yeah, like I guess it's more new, but last time we talked, I already wrote and published some of our work already. Maybe I didn't bring it up, but yeah, that's also included in some of the work we do.
I see.
Yeah,
That's
but it's
so
not
cool.
the only thing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
In your main role as a data scientist, I think most of your role is coding and building things or using data science to solve for business problems, right? In that field, what has occurred to you that made you decide to write a book, and an O'Reilly book about machine learning interviews?
Yeah, so after graduating, I was getting so many questions about, oh, how do you get into data science? How do you, do machine learning? How do you get a career in machine learning? And back then, I think we have different kind of cycles. So it used to be called more machine learning, but of course, like machine learning is what powers AI as we know it now. But it's like, it's the same question, right? How do I get into AI? How do I get into machine learning? And I've given a lot of talks, and I've also had coffee chats with students, like so many, like hundreds of people. And I had all this information, and O'Reilly actually reached out to me because I was also writing a blog about, oh, how do you enter data science? I had like a 2-part blog that was pretty popular on my blog.
Is that the personal blog on Susan
Shu.com? Yeah.
.com?
Yeah, that's like a quite old blog, but it was pretty popular.
That's a really good website. I looked at it so many times, and there are so many sections divided, so organized.
Thanks. Yeah, like that was like that's how I started writing. And then O'Reilly, I think, saw maybe that I was doing public speaking, and then also they saw my blogs and saw that I was talking about this for a long time. So they asked me to teach a online course about machine learning interviews. And after I taught the course for a few times, they also asked me if I was interested in writing a book about it. So that's how I got started. Yeah, but I guess the book is much more complicated than teaching the online course, because on the online course it's like slides and then just talking, right? But then it actually gave me a really good outline for the book, because all the attendees for the online course, they were also asking these very relevant questions, so I could really understand like what the job seekers at the time are going through. And then I added them to the book.
That's so cool. They actually reached out to you.
Yeah,
Wow.
Very lucky I was. But yeah, I think it's because I was doing these public speaking opportunities and the writing that they saw that, oh, this person, Susan, can write at least.
So they can write and speak and teach.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing. Wow. And in my observation, I feel like most O'Reilly books focus on a specific tech concepts. For example, I think there are books about ML engineering, system design, or even like teach you how to code in Python, right? And your book, it helps students to prepare for machine learning interviews.
Yes.
I guess my question is, when you were writing the book, are there any chapters you feel that are especially difficult for you to write?
Yeah, I think there's definitely some challenges, and I was talking to another book author, actually, Chip Huyen. She wrote Designing Machine Learning Systems, and it's a very popular O'Reilly book. And a few people in O'Reilly authors, I've met them at a conference in the States called Data Day Texas, because there's an O'Reilly booth there. A lot of us get together and talk there, but they were saying that like in these books, apart from the ones that are specifically teaching about the syntax and programming, actually a lot of them don't have a lot of code.
Oh, really?
Because they get outdated so quickly. So even Chip, she's more focused on, and I don't want to like put words, speak for her, but just like the things that I've heard, and I've also spoken to her directly, is that like we tend not to put things that get outdated too quickly in the book. So we're not including directly like too much code in the books. Like people might include a separate GitHub repo. So the challenge for me was like, how do I write something that can have longevity, right? Because if I write lots of Python code and put it in a book, could be outdated very quickly. So
Right.
I'm trying to, when I was writing the book, I was trying to balance that. And also in the initial product pitch, the book is not supposed to be a question bank. It's not supposed to be like just questions and answers and questions and answers, because there's already things online like Lead Code. You already have a great online platform for that. We don't need another book that's like just these answers and they're going to be outdated.
So how's your
really
book
quickly.
different from that you
Right.
described?
Yeah. So it's like about the things people are confused about are not just like the programming. It's like as a new grad, right? Like people are like, I was confused. Like, oh, if you apply to jobs, what's the structure? The first time I had no idea you have to do so many interviews, right? Coding interviews, theory interviews. They're asking me
Yeah, and I think at the time you were preparing for data science interviews, that must be very early when data science first became a hot topic, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Which year was that when you were struggling with it?
I want to say like 18.
2018.
Yeah.
That's probably a time when the term data science is the sexiest job
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
20th
yeah.
century first came
Definitely,
out.
definitely, yeah.
So you felt like there is a struggle, and after you gained so much experience, talking to people, you decide to include all that in your book.
Yes, yes, exactly. And also after working for some years, now I'm also helping, like I mentioned, I've helped a lot of new grads. I had hundreds of coffee chats. And there's so much information. Like I interviewed also hundreds of candidates. I've reviewed hundreds of resumes for the companies that I worked at. So I know all the things that, like, when this is why I have to discard a resume and like, oh, this is why we couldn't pass this candidate. Like I gained even more knowledge, right? So I wanted to put that all in the book, and that's really hard for people who are new to the industry. It's a lot of information that you would never get like in one place, right? It's more about the how do you prepare, the framework, right? How do you prepare smart? These are things that are less talked about.
So am I correct if I assume it's more about strategies and maybe mindset shifts?
Yes, yes, definitely. And then I think the ML theory, I do actually have like actual like textbook theory in there, because I think for new grads, it's really hard to grasp that there's so many use cases in the real world. So what I mean is like, now there's Gen AI, but before and now still recommender systems, reinforcement learning, computer vision, like how do all those relate to each other, and what industries are using what and
the business
why?
problem.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I do explain a bunch of common algorithms in the book, but then I also tie it into this is how recommender systems work. This is how you talk about it in an interview. Because a new grad who's never built a recommender system, like they're not answering. Like I mean, I've interviewed people, right? They're not able to answer properly, like how they would tie this into a product.
I see.
Yeah, so that's also something I added.
So your book not only teaches people technical skills to help them prepare for interviews, but also how to explain these concepts and think about it in a business sense.
Yes, yes, yeah, exactly.
I
And
see.
for conversational like interview, kind of this is especially important. Yeah.
Yes, I could relate to that, exactly. My next question is, so after your book is published, and right now we actually see there are 3 different languages.
Yeah.
It's so cool. It's translated to, you wrote it in English, right?
Yes, yes,
And it's now translated to how many different languages?
Currently these 2, and there's also the India like print version, but they use English as well. It's just like a different distributor and different maybe like license or something like that. Yeah.
So let's see, what are these?
Yeah, we have.
There's the English version, the
Yeah.
original version,
Yes.
and this is
I have the Mandarin.
Mandarin version.
Yeah.
And wow, it's Korean.
Yeah, Korean version as well.
Did
Yeah.
you request to translate it into Korean, or they did it?
They
for
did,
you?
yeah. So the publisher took care of all of these, and then yeah, I guess I don't really have a part in the licensing and however that works. I'm not familiar with the business side of it, but the publisher dealt with translations.
So in the past, have you ever got any like messages from readers of your book who might be saying to you like, "Hey, thank you so much. I was able to land a job after reading your book." Have you ever got interactions with readers like that?
Yeah, definitely. Like even recently, I've gotten some really good messages. Like they write like a lot, and I read them all. Like they're
Wow.
telling me about their entire journey, how they're like really discouraged, and how, um, like following the steps in the book, they're able to get some more clarity, and then landing a job. Like, and there's people from all around the world. Like there's people from, let's say, I want to say like South America, and then they're finding jobs in the US, or like people from some other countries, and then they're maybe going from Asia to Europe. Like all sorts of people in different locations have actually like reached out to me. My goal was to help at least one person, right? Like this person went from making $0 to $100,000. Like if there's one person that did that, I'm happy.
You succeeded.
Yeah, but there's multiple. Like, I think I'm very, very happy about that. Or people who used to make 50K, now they're making 80K or 150K. Like, I mean, that's enough for me. Like, like I'm happy.
It must felt so good.
Yeah, I'm
being able
satisfied.
to help so many young professionals.
Yeah, it achieved my goal. Yeah.
Cool. So since you're so good at technical writing, so let's say if someone in the tech industry or an industry similar to yours and they start technical writing too, but they feel the struggle of keeping it up and they ask you to give them some advice, how would you advise them?
Right, yeah. So they want to start, and I guess there's a few questions I get about this topic. So there's some that's like, oh, how do I continue writing? And then I think for that, it's like, even on days where you don't feel like writing, it's about like being consistent. So it's like, I think one thing I also have a blog on this too, like how I was writing the book. It's like you'd rather get like one not so good sentence out, like just publish it, than no words at all. So it's kind of like some people, they get frozen when they open up a blank document and they don't know what to say. So I just start randomly typing stuff, because it's better to have like a few not so good sentences than nothing at all, right? So I think that's one thing that helps me, which is just start writing. You can edit later, but then very, very early on, obviously, it's very difficult to get started, or just people get frozen. Like they want to come out with something perfect, but usually it's more like you just dump out some not perfect things. So that's one of how you continue to write every week, which is just like, even if you write 5 sentences, you're still doing something, right? It's kind of like maybe some analogies of like, I guess like fitness or whatever, right? It's like you just have to continue, right? There's no like you finish it in one weekend, right? There's nothing like that. It's always like you have to just continue to do it. Or for people going to the gym, you just have to keep going. Like you can't go 1 week and then you're done. So similar. But another thing is people who are very shy to post it. They're saying, "Oh, I posted and no one's looking at it. Like I shouldn't post anymore."
I only got 3 likes on LinkedIn post. I'm so embarrassed.
Yeah, it's like stuff like that. But I mean, I was there too. Like I used to be like just posting, but then I think I just kept posting anyway, right? There's some weeks where there's more, some weeks there's less. It's almost like maybe like stock market. It's like random, right? Like just sometimes like there's no reason. Like you can post, people could look up, oh, it's the best time to post on this day and this time. Like it doesn't work. Like it's just really random. And then the more you post, like the more probability that you have, like stats, right? You just have to increase the probability. You're not increasing each time has to be a win. Like you just have to, the more you post, the higher the probability that each single one of them could be seen. And I think that's more just like the consistency is more important than just people expect too much. They want to go viral on the first post. Like no, that's not happening. All the people that I see on LinkedIn now with like, they have like tens of thousands, hundreds of followers. They started posting over a decade ago. Like some people I know, like they've been posting for like 5 years, 10 years, and at the beginning, they're not doing these numbers. They're just doing like these small audience and
And
yeah.
I love how you drew an analogy, and I think I saw it on your blog website. You had an analogy between investing in index fund and technical writing.
Yep, yeah. And then it's the same for a lot of things because I use that analogy also for networking as well. So it's like people want to, they expect they go to one conference and they'll know like hundreds of people and get a job. It's like, it's not really. It's more like you have to go to a few conferences and each conference will increase the chances by a little bit.
Yeah. And you have to expect the fluctuation. Sometimes you might get no new connections at all, or even negative. Maybe that won't happen.
But just like it's basically kind of like a stock market, or in this case the index fund analogy is because you just have to keep investing and then in the long run it'll go up.
Now I want to switch gears and I want to talk more about your conference journey.
Sure.
So I think you are a seasoned speaker now. You've spoken at so many conferences on machine learning, data, and tech in general. How did you kickstart this journey? How did you land your first speaking opportunity?
Right. Yeah. I've also been asked this question quite often too. And so I started small. Like there's some meetups and things like that. And I actually started speaking when I was really new in my career. I had just started working and I wanted to improve my skills. So then I was going to some meetups and then I went so frequently that I got to know the kind of organizers who are still my friends to this day. And I met so many other people, but basically I volunteered to kind of help out like moderating one of the sessions, and then later on, because they trusted me, then I was able to get a speaking slot, a full speaking slot. And I think people who start out, their biggest worry is, oh, how do I have enough credibility so that a meetup will agree to let me speak? Like, oh, I just started and I didn't do anything exciting yet. Like, I think it's important to build the trust, right? Because if the organizer knows, have seen you around versus they didn't see this other person who applied, they'll probably choose the one that they know or they have some more familiarity with. So that's kind of how I got started at like a smaller, well, not small meetup, but just like a local meetup. And then from then I did some more speaking at some more meetups in Toronto. And then I was able to get I applied to speak at PyCon Canada, which is also in Toronto, and that's like my first big conference. And most conferences, they'll ask you to submit, let's say, like a video if you're a first-time speaker, like a video example of you speaking. So then after I had the PyCon kind of experience, then it was easier to get into other similar caliber conferences. And then from then, it just became more and more easy. But just to summarize, like going back in time, some things are just like local meetups, or in my company we had these lunch and learn like journal article, you read like you read papers and then you discuss them, and I was participating in those as well, which helped me be more confident and more practiced in speaking opportunities too. We had a AI conference in the company, and that was such an amazing event. And I was I think I was like the person with the least work experience that was able to speak there.
And you mean which conference?
Within my company. Yeah, they had like this internal, all the ML data and AI people like had our own conference, and that was amazing. Yeah, but I was able to speak there to all of these kind of like fellow practitioners. So there are people who would like the speakers, they're expecting to have high quality, like in-depth, like technical presentations. And then I was able to get a speaker slot at that, which was, I think, looking back, it was quite an accomplishment. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
For sure.
But that's because I started speaking internally and at these external meetups. So then the company, they knew that I could give a talk. Yeah.
I see. I think a lot of people, they when they think about going out and speak in front of a large audience, they tend to have this thing called imposter syndrome.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you had that, or are you always just confident?
Yeah, no, I definitely had imposter syndrome. I think especially, for example, in that conference, the internal conference, I mean, like, it's just like there's so many people who are more experienced than I am, and I felt like, oh, is my talk gonna be okay? But then I did a lot of practice runs with people I know, and actually for my very first keynote talk, like I've done maybe like 5 or more keynote talks at this point, but my first one, I spent maybe 10 hours rehearsing it before.
Just talking to yourself?
I would invite friends, like professional people that I know in the industry, and I asked them to listen to my talk on Zoom. And I did like 10 of those. I wrote a blog about it also, and I listed like my schedule and how I prepared for it. And that one was because I was nervous and I kind of felt like, oh, what if the talk's not good enough? And but I think the way I try to overcome imposter syndrome is thinking. Often people actually ask me. I've been asked this question too, which is, oh,
you're an expert in answering this now.
Yeah, it's like I've answered this like maybe 3 to 5 times.
Yeah.
Maybe like more over DM or when people come to me at a conference. But it's great to get recorded here with this answer, which is,
share with us what strategies you found are really effective in handling that.
Yeah, definitely. So very early on, I learned something, which is, so I went to some talk, and I think I was working and focusing on recommender systems, ML algorithms at the time. But then I went to some other company. They were talking about the same thing that I did, that I was working on, but they were working in another industry, and I learned so much. So I think people are worried that, oh, like I'm working in recommender systems. There's so many people much better in recommender systems than me. Like I shouldn't give a talk on recommender systems. So therefore I shouldn't give a talk. And it's no, like it's like maybe you're working in recommender systems in telecom. Maybe you're working in banking. Maybe you're working in big tech, right? It's all different. And people from this other company, they'll learn like from what you did at your company because you're the only one that can share that. It's unique, as long as you share the unique aspect of it, of course. But just, I realized like pretty early on that I think I'm a positive thinker. That's why I realized these things early on. Like I just realized it myself, which is just like, even if you're kind of hesitant to like apply to these things, like there's going to be something unique that you can share. Yeah, so I think that's my advice to people who have like imposter syndrome, like, oh, I don't have enough years of experience. There's always going to be someone with more years of experience. There's people with 20 years of experience, and there's people with 30 years of experience. Does that mean that people with 28 years of experience shouldn't give a talk? No, right? So even if you've like a few years of experience or even 1 year, there could be something that you could share. Like and actually at the PyCon Canada, there were some I think student speakers, and they did some unique project, like some unique side project, and they got accepted to PyCon Canada, right? And like that kind of thing is just like, if someone's goal is to go to a conference, there's always a way. Yeah.
I see. So your main strategy is think positively and know everything you say is unique. No one else knows exactly what you're doing.
Yeah. But then, obviously the speaker would have to put in the effort to draw out the unique, interesting thing. But just assuming they did that, then everyone can learn something. There's always going to be, even if you can help one person in the audience learn more, then I think that's good enough. People try to compare themselves to like, they're new grads comparing themselves to like, I don't know, like Sam Altman or something. Like, don't compare yourself to your audience and your own peers. That's all you need.
Yeah, You actually pointed out a really good point there, is to know how to draw out your uniqueness. How do you know like what's your uniqueness? A lot of people, they just don't realize that, and they think, well, for example, I graduated from the same program as my peers. We all know the same knowledge. We all have similar industry experience. How unique could I be?
Right. Yeah, that's a really good question. Like I think one thing I recommend to people is like to kind of like follow your interests. So it's really hard. I mean, I went to a school that was really competitive, lots of pressure. Everyone wanted to do the right thing. There's always the right thing, which is like, oh, you get a co-op job and you do these things for the interview and co-op job, and if you do all the right things then you'll get a good job. Like, so it's kind of like, even from a student, when we are students, there's this kind of perception that there's a checklist of the best right things for every person. As long as every person does the same things, then they're going to succeed. But actually, the truth is that like you have to do things that are not in this list, which is like, so for example, when I was doing the video game development, like there's nothing on this checklist that says, oh, like, you know, develop video games and you will succeed, right? No, there's nothing like that, because I think I was able to go through my interest and then do something that's more tailored to myself, to my personal interest. And I think that requires a little bit of like courage, right? There's people who are very, I mean, this has existed from the beginning of time. Like there's people who are like, maybe they hate accounting, and then they think it's a safe thing to do, and then they go into accounting, right? There's people who hate CS and stats, plenty of people, and they're here as well, because it's a safe thing to do, right? But I mean, what I'm saying is that like, if there's something that you can do that's like a blend of, maybe like, if you care about being safe, then do the safe thing, but then also do something, like add a little spice to it that's just like your own unique thing. Even if let's say your parents or whatever as a student are saying, oh, like this doesn't make sense. Like, I think, let's say someone's interested in music. Actually, I spoke to a student that was actually asking me about this. I was giving a talk at University of Waterloo in just a bit west of us, and yeah, like someone was interested in music production, and actually I think had some SoundCloud and was doing some music performance, but they were doing some safe major, like I don't know, it was like CS or economics, I forgot which one, but like just something more like safe. But then they were trying to like give it a little like blend.
Spice,
yeah, exactly. Like trying to blend the knowledge together using like AI to, I don't know, like doing something related to music production, or I think also maybe something like statistical analysis on some like music data, like things like that, right? So I think that makes this person unique to me. As if I was to review their resume, I'd be like, oh, this is interesting. Yeah.
So I'm not sure if this is going to be a difficult question. If you're pursuing something unique and you know it's unique, I think means there's probably not a predefined path for it.
Yeah.
Then how do you evaluate yourself that you're getting better and better at it if there's no a set way to define your success in that?
Yeah, so there's this kind of book called Designing Your Life. I don't know if people have heard of it, but
who's the author?
I don't remember. We'd have to
you read it?
Look it up. I did read it a long time ago, and I think when I read it, actually I had already done a lot of the things in the book. So the book describes like, if you're interested in kind of doing something, before you jump right into it, like maybe some people, they've never been exposed to, let's say, software engineering. They think, oh, it's going to be great, and this is going to be the dream job for me, and then they kind of join the industry, and then they think they hate it, right? So basically the book is saying that before you make a commitment, try to interview people, like, as in, let's say you speak to some alumni and you ask them, oh, what's your day-to-day job like? And, what do you like about it? What do you don't like about it? I did do that too with data science. Like I talked to various alumni before I graduated, before I got my first job. I spoke to a few, and I asked them like, oh, how'd you get here? Like, what's the challenging parts and things like that. So I guess like that doesn't touch on the unique thing, but just like for a new grad, this is all ambiguous, right? This is all like, very broad gist of it. You have idealized in perception of it. But maybe you can ask people who have more similar background, even if they're not doing exactly the same thing you're doing. So in my case, right, like video games, there's people in the video game industry that I reached out to, and there's also people who had the same graduate degree that I had, and there's no one who's doing the same thing. But I think people who are doing something unique, they were able to break it out into components, and then they can reach out to find someone who has like one thing in common, ask them about their path, and try to kind of create a combined path for yourself. Yeah, so I mean, I've done that too, because actually like right now at the principal level, there's a really hard to define career path. Like I can move into management, I can move into even like leadership at a startup. I could continue trying to get promoted to like a senior principal or whatever, but it's really less talked about. It's kind of like a pyramid. All this stuff is about finding your first job. Little content about rising to senior. There's some new content recently about going to staff plus level, but most of the content is for early career people, right? At the top here is always ambiguous. So I think that's part of the challenge.
And why do you think it's like that? There are not much content, not much people sharing about how they feel, how do they continue to achieve their goals when they're at the more senior level and above?
I think it might just be that they're busy working, and then they don't think it's a priority to share. And I guess that's not a bad thing too, because I definitely do respect that. Sometimes it's like work-life balance, or they don't want to think about it after work. They don't want to like write anymore after work, and it's not their hobby. But just to draw it back to the unique path part, because I actually think that question relates a lot to this, like, how do you keep kind of like learning and designing a goal when there's no public roadmap, right? So that's the same kind of challenge as what I'm dealing with in my career right now. And I think I just find, basically to summarize, like I find people who've maybe had a little bit similar background. It doesn't have to be the same, right? They're not going to tell me all the exact correct roadmap items to do, but they'll have some lessons that I need to summarize multiple people to combine and maybe get an idea of what I could do. So I think for the people who are doing something unique, it's to also find various different fields that have something in common with them, find successful people in that field, and try to summarize and get a combined roadmap from their experience.
I see. So there are still benchmarks out there you can use from other areas that share a little bit commonality with what you're doing, and then you actually need to be able to summarize and apply those benchmarks to your unique field.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Susan, you've attended so many conferences. Tell us about what places have you been to for conference trips?
Yeah.
Cities, towns, countries.
Yeah. So, I mean, definitely a lot. I've been to Europe a few times. Like I was the keynote at PyCon.
Where was PyCon?
It was in Germany.
Germany.
Yeah, PyCon DE, like Germany, and PyData Berlin for 1 year. And then I've also been to the States pretty often. I've been speaking in San Francisco like quite a few times, in Texas, in Austin, in Texas, a few times as well, and also in some places on the East Coast too. But yeah, like it's been great to travel with like for the conferences and for work, and we went to like Czech Republic as well. In
For a conference too?
it was like for work related. But I also gave a talk. I gave 2 talks there, so it counts as for talks. Like lots of places, Europe, and
Nice.
I actually wanted to go 1 year to India too. They were going to fly me there. So all these places, they fly me there, and we have a free hotel and stuff like that too.
Wait, you want to go 1 full year?
No. I wanted to go to speak at India. They had invited me for PyCon India in person, but then I wasn't able to go that year. But it would have been like a covered flight as well.
That's so cool. Being able to work on your passionate jobs and also being able to travel around.
Yeah.
So cool. And what has been your most memorable conference experience so far?
Ooh, this is really hard. Like, I think there's a few of my favorite ones for sure. Like, I do want to say the PyCon DE, like in Germany, in Berlin, was really good. The venue was big. I used it as kind of like my banner. Actually, I think not anymore, but I used to have it as my kind of like speaking banner because the venue was so fun and so beautiful as well. I also really like the conferences in San Francisco. Recently, I was at this conference called QCon in San Francisco, and then we had the hotel and the venue, which was right beside Market, which is by the waterfront, so I could see outside, and it's the ferry building of San Francisco, the major like tourist location, and the water, and I would just see like the boats and stuff from the venue. So that was lovely.
That's cool.
Yeah, I met a lot of great people there too, and I also like returning to day in Austin in Texas, and that's where I met quite a few of the O'Reilly authors because they have like an O'Reilly booth there, and I've been speaking there for 2 years so far.
Amazing. You travel around North America and to Europe.
Yes.
That's amazing. So I think as someone like you, you've attended and also spoken at so many conferences. I imagine you must have developed a sense of how to make the most out of the full experience at the conference. And so my question is, are there things you would intentionally do at a conference that you think is very beneficial to you? And maybe those things conference newcomers tend to overlook.
Yeah. I was like kind of chuckling because I thought of it's like the term called hallway track. Have you heard of that?
What's that?
So it's like kind of like it's kind of like so like I guess in conferences there's different tracks, like different topics, but then it's kind of like maybe like a joke or inside joke that there is like the track that happens in the hallways, which is networking. Basically, is networking. So,
networking track.
Yeah. So it's like it's not an official anything. We just it's not an official like track anywhere. It's just like we just refer to that as like the networking aspect of all conferences, which is sometimes I don't attend like all the talks. Like I'll often set aside a couple hours a day just to hang out and run into people and say hi. And the Toronto Machine Learning Summit, which I've been going to for many years, like maybe 5 years or more, I always do hallway track there. By that I mean I go to some talks, and then the rest of the time I'm just like kind of meeting people and chatting to them, and just sometimes like if there's some booth that I know, I'm not part of their company or anything, I'm like helping out a little bit just to like meet people.
So most of the time, if you're not speaking, you're just on a hallway track.
Yeah. But I'll attend some talks. Just like I won't like spend 100% of the time at the talks because you're not talking to anyone, unless you want to meet the speaker. Then of course attend their talk. Yeah, if possible.
So in the hallway track, do you just talk to the people you know, or you actually walk up to someone you want to talk to, but maybe that person doesn't really know you? Do you do that often?
Yeah, I do. I like walk up to them and like
And
say
what do you
hi.
say to them?
So like, oh, yeah, I introduce myself and ask them maybe what brings you to this conference and how are you? Because lots of conferences, there's people from out of town, right? So if they're from out of town, like asking them about their travels and then how they do, what they're doing for work. I think it's less common that like I know exactly who I'm looking for, and then I approach them. Sometimes it's just like these random groups of people that they're working, and then I kind of join their conversation. As in, they seem to have come together in a group in the same company or something, and then I'll kind of join them.
Fun. So how many years have you spent, traveling and attending conferences?
I want to say like the last maybe like 5 years.
5 years now.
Yeah. So it's usually like 2 to 3 places a year nowadays. Like because I guess like I don't want to overload my schedule too, because I'm like I have to do real like my day job, so I can't kind of do too many as well.
I guess what I want to say is 5 years is a big commitment. Must spend lots of time on it. So what has motivated you to keep on going, carry on with this journey? What's your underlying driving force of this?
Yeah, I think it's a great way to kind of meet more people who are doing very cool things in the industry. So I think every time I attend these conferences, it's really, I learn a lot too. Even if sometimes I learn from the talk, sometimes I just learn from meeting these people and they're talking about something interesting that they're not giving a 40-minute talk about it, but they're telling me about it for 10 minutes. Like I still learn a lot. And that's why I think, well, my employer is very supportive of me giving talks and kind of going to these conferences because they know that people learn a lot, and it's also a way for us to share our own company's work and our own expertise, which is important to our company. So they're willing to also cover like some my expenses, basically, right? So because it also helps our company, which is like more people learn about our company, the tools that we're making, our Gen AI tools. Like indirectly, this also helps us gain more users. So of course, they're investing in that. Another interesting one is actually for promotions. So within tech companies or even non-tech companies, there's often this kind of promotion criteria, or the career ladder, career matrix, whatever they call it. And I noticed this the time when I was first getting promoted. Generally, it goes like, I guess you're like entry level, and then you might be kind of like skipping a few years, and then senior level, and then staff level, and then principal level. So I wanted to, apply for another that's like at least senior or staff or principal if I could still hit that goal. And then the job posting were all saying, oh, you need to be like have some thought leadership, like external leader in the industry. You need to basically do these things that are basically, if you do conference speaking, then you're hitting the criteria, right? Like you could say that I could say that I'm a thought leader if I was like successful, let's say blogger or writing papers or speaking, right? But whatever, like it's just like so many of these staff job postings that I saw, they all mentioned this. And even in the career ladders in the companies that I've been at, they all mention you need to have like you need to be a leader, recognized leader in the industry. So because I've been doing conference talks for so long, like I think people could look at me and they could say, okay, like Susan does hit this criteria. And it's very useful, like in an unintentional way, for me to reach for those promotions. Yeah, so that's one of the benefits I've gotten from conference speaking. And I think now I don't need to give so many talks anymore because I already had, I've already reached this goal and this criteria, but it's still fun to do, and there's always benefits to expand my network and to meet more people and learn more things. But definitely, I try to balance it out with my energy and so on. But just basically for people who are early on, sometimes they want to get promoted and they start this too late, right? If you're starting from scratch, you might need another 2 or 3 years to become like more recognized in the field or so on and so forth. So yeah, I think it's beneficial to start early if someone is aiming for like this kind of career path later down the road. But if you're not interested, then no pressure as well.
Right. So it's actually a factor that would affect your promotions as well.
Yeah, like overall career growth. Like if you're trying to climb the ladder, so to speak, then definitely it's something to think about.
I see.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be conference talks exactly. It could be there's other forms of being a thought leader in the industry, like publishing papers or writing, right? But just like conferences are pretty like easy way to justify I have reached this this goal in this expectation.
So the people who are the same level as you, do you think they also know that, or they don't know it, but by the time they realize it, their career could be set back by 2 to 3 years or 3 to 4 years for the time they need to prepare for it?
I think it's definitely possible. Like there's people who are probably they're able to get promoted by being an internal leader as well. But then I think that still involves all this internal speaking and internal presentations. Like there's no way to get around this in a big company just by being a good programmer or kind of model developer. Like there's no way. Like these the career ladder also includes like internal influence or whatever, working cross organization, like all these things, like they still have to do that. Yeah.
So all of those things count as the thought leadership that a lot of the senior positions require.
Yeah. Like it's like internal and external are usually both required in a large company.
And there's no way you can dodge that.
It's very hard. Yeah. Like I think, well, there's definitely people who have been promoted without speaking at any external conference, but I would say it's very rare when you actually look at their profiles, right? Because there's also so many. I think most people I know in a principal role in our company have at least given one external talk, like at least for sure.
I see. So if let's say I'm at a point where I try to, get promoted to a senior position, and I just realized this point by listening to our conversation today. And how can I start it? How should I start this? Get my first talk.
Yeah.
That first talk.
Yeah, so I think the easiest way is like to maybe reach out to local meetups and then see if they'll kind of get like kind of accept a talk proposal. But then if not, then maybe attending their talks, and then so the organizers will trust you and then they'll allow you to give a talk basically. I do think maybe for initially senior level it's probably okay-ish, but then anywhere above that it's going to be more of a challenge. So it's better to start at the entry level to senior level.
Why would starting it at the senior level be a bigger challenge? I thought when you're senior you would have more experience to share. You can just pick any topic you want to speak about. That would be a bigger challenge, you said.
Oh no, it wouldn't be a bigger challenge. I just mean that it's good to start as early as possible, but some people are already senior, so they can just start now, I guess. If they want to move up. Some people don't want to move up and they don't have to do it, for sure.
I see. Cool. Thank you so much, Susan, for the insightful talk, and I think our audience would benefit a lot from it.